Today we sit down with Paul O'Sullivan, SVP of Solution Engineering and UKI CTO at Salesforce, to explore how Salesforce is revolutionising customer experience with AI.
We've done some tremendous amount of research and we've realised that 90% of customer data resides in an unstructured format. So if you think about the CRM and we think about tables, rows, data fields, objects, etc., that's great because it's structured and we can query it and we can understand it. But there's a tremendous amount of customer data in an unstructured format that if we can unlock, we can unleash even more potential and really be personal to our customers and give them the information they require right there in the moment, which is really, really key.
Paul shares insights on the future of enterprise AI, emphasising that success relies on having the right data rather than sheer volume. He points out the limitations of current AI solutions, which often lack the necessary data to be truly effective, and discusses the crucial role of data in building business trust in AI.
Lots of organisations have been on a journey of orchestrating and bringing their data together. That's a challenge, but lots of companies have overcome that. When you then layer on top some level of intelligence to ask a question of your data, to be able to then understand and get that insight that could inform a business decision, that's really crucial. But it is then about how do you activate it.
I think you're going to enjoy this one. Paul, let's talk data.
Let's talk data.
So the value of the UK AI market is predicted to grow from $21 billion to more than $1 trillion over the next 10 years. However, the UK is facing a digital skills crisis that could impede this growth. Your research shows that although over a third of UK workers are using and planning to use generative AI at work, the majority, 62%, lack the skills to do so effectively and safely. Could you talk to us about the Salesforce's first AI centre, which has recently opened in London?
Yeah, very, very exciting. So our AI centre in London is a physical location to allow our customers, our partners and industry experts to come together, collaborate and really drive advancements in AI innovation. Mm-hmm. It's no surprise when we look at where we are today with consumer AI and things like OpenAI that we're seeing, new language models, Gemini with Google, etc., and what Microsoft have produced as well. It's no surprise that all these models have created and captured the attention of all of us. Mm-hmm, yeah. And we see a huge opportunity to drive productivity and efficiency. However, there is a problem. Mm-hmm. And the problem is the consumer AI that's available today is not fit for purpose in the enterprise.
Right.
And the reason for that is a lot of these language models and this advancement we've seen is because they're trained on publicly available data. Now, there's a real problem there because publicly available data can lead you to kind of any type of answer or response.
Yeah.
So we believe that we've got to ground generative AI and these language models in contextual data that's relevant to the enterprise. And if we do that, the accuracy level will improve, the contextual understanding of what you're trying to achieve as a business will really come to the forefront.
Yeah, okay. And yeah, so on your website, of course, data is an asset, but it also presents itself as a challenge. So I read on your website that the average enterprise has data in over 800 applications, and just 29% of those are connected.
Yes. Interestingly, when we did our research, we saw that on average an enterprise had a tremendous amount of applications. I think it's between 800 and 997. Disparate, disconnected applications across their IT estate. Interestingly, when I talk to customers about this statistic, they say to me, yeah, right, I've probably got 1,500, and some of them say I've got 2,000. Mm-hmm. But this is a real challenge that we need to overcome because customers have these applications because consumers demanded more. So they built these small applications to service a particular need for the consumer. And then what's happened is it's created these data silos.
Right.
If I took you back in kind of back to the 1980s, when kind of IT was kind of in its forefront position of kind of monolithic applications, we realized to make a change in a monolithic application, it took a long time and it was complex and difficult. So architecturally, over a period of time, we've broken down those systems, and we've gone through kind of monolithic to service-orientated architecture to today microservice architecture and composable architecture. So that abstraction and breaking down those systems has been great for agility and responding to consumer needs. However, the challenge is we've created now multiple data silos, and we're seeing organizations now trying to go, okay, I need to bring all my data back together, and I need some sort of data lake so that I can query and look at the data, and which is great because it drives a business insight. But the real thing here is, what are you going to do with that data? How do you activate it? And that's where Salesforce comes in, because with our data cloud technology, if we can help customers bring all that data together, meaningful data that again supports the contextual understanding and the grounding of the AI, but also if we can just service it up to people that are using the CRM for things like, every time I get a call into a contact center, or every time I'm trying to pursue a particular opportunity or a renewal, if I can service up relevant information in the moment to those employees, they can better engage with their customers. So it's fascinating at the moment, because I think everybody realizes that over a period of time, the last couple of decades, we have broken down all of these systems, and what we've done is we've also disconnected all of those data points, and we've got to now bring it all together.
Right, okay. So is Data Cloud a new product, or is it a version of another product that existed?
So Data Cloud is, we launched Data Cloud at Dreamforce, not last year, the year before.
Yeah.
We continue to innovate on our products, all of them. And we've just made a recent announcement where we've released our vector database, which helps support unstructured data. Because again, we've done some tremendous amount of research, and we've realized that 90% of customer data resides in an unstructured format. So if you think about the CRM, and we think about tables, rows, data fields, objects, etc., that's great because it's structured and we can query it and we can understand it. But there's a tremendous amount of customer data in an unstructured format that if we can unlock, we can unleash even more potential and really be personal to our customers and give them the information they require right there in the moment, which is really, really key.
Yeah, okay. So did this come from customer demand, would you say, or were your developers ahead of the curve in the sense of they knew it would need innovation, or a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both, because I think the reality of this is we do 3 major releases a year.
Right.
We have got a world-class product engineering team that continuously looks at the advancements across a wide spectrum of technologies that are out there, like, graph databases, vector databases, to make sure that we can stay in front, because and the real reason at the heart of all of this is because we're obsessed about our customer.
Yeah.
We put the customer first in everything we do, and we realized really, really quickly that customers demand more from companies that they interact with. And actually, customers want real personalized, relevant information to them, because if they don't, we see that customers, if they have a bad experience with a company, the brand, the trust, all of that starts to erode. And it's really interesting, because then you start losing customers, and you've got to figure out, how do you re-engage? How do you continue to build your customer base back up? And it's interesting because this presents an interesting challenge for companies, which is, if I don't surface the right information to my customer at the right time, or it's not relevant and contextual, they will leave me. However, there is equally a challenge where customers don't trust companies with their data.
Yes.
So we've got to find this sweet spot of this balance between, how do we make sure that we are providing a meaningful service right there in the moment and helping our customers be successful. And that's why we continue to innovate, and that's why we continue to obsess about making sure that customers have these amazing world-class experiences when they engage with
Yeah, okay. So what are the key mechanisms then of which Data Cloud helps free data from the silos within an organisation? Can you describe the process?
Yeah, so the first thing is we've got to connect to all of those disparate systems and services. We've got, with Data Cloud, we've got now over 200 out-of-the-box connectors.
Right.
We've got deep partnership with Snowflake, Databricks, etc. And what we can do is we can use these connectors to connect to the data source. Then we take that, once we've got that connection, we can either shift the data across, or we can reference the data in a virtualized way. So we don't have to pay for duplicate storage. So we can be really, really smart about how we do this. When it's connected within Data Cloud, you can then harmonize all of that data. So you can start looking at the connected data and the objects that are in the CRM, and you can start harmonizing that to create a unified profile, whether it's of a customer or a product or whatever, but you're creating a unified profile that can be referenced across the CRM. And then what we can do is we can then look at where we've got use cases orientated around that business to be able to say, well, if I want to achieve this use case, what data do I need? And then we can start activating that use case. So a great example of this, and an organization that's done it tremendously well, is Formula One.
Right, okay.
So Formula One have an amazing fan experience now because they use a combination of Data Cloud and our Einstein 1 platform for bringing that generative AI to life, where effectively they've seen fan loyalty increase to 88%, which is significant.
Yeah.
But they've also been able to find ways that they can engage with customers outside of those that just turn up at the track to watch an amazing race, because we know that not every fan can go to a race. So it's really, really exciting to see the potential, and Formula One was one of our very first trailblazing customers, along many others as well.
Wow. I mean, they are incredibly data-driven, aren't they? You only have to watch an episode of Drive to Survive and it's all data. But that's amazing that they utilise it in different ways. So do you think they were quite ahead of the curve in terms of what they believed was possible?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
And we've got a great partnership with McLaren as well, which is one of the race teams there. And I quite often talk to the team there. And it is amazing to see how they apply data to really kind of analyse and predict ahead of, a driver going into a particular turn. And they have to do this in literally milliseconds to provide guidance on things like tyre pressure, whether they should swap things out. You can tell I'm a big Formula One fan. But it is, they are ahead of the curve, but it's equally interesting because the technology now is moving at a pace like it has never moved before. I remember growing up going, which language should I learn as a developer? Now it's like, wow, the options that are available are phenomenal. And the potential to unlock some of this is really, really key.
As things are ever changing in that sense, so you will develop a new product, you'll roll that out, you'll get feedback. But then by the time, because obviously you're a huge company, I know you're very agile as well, how do you keep up with that trend? Are you able to get feedback very quickly from your users and develop it as necessary?
Yeah, we do. And we do a number of different kind of customer boards that regular review. We sit down with our customers on a constant basis. We apply a principle of deep listening.
Right.
We really try and understand the challenges that our customers face within their businesses, because that's what we got to help them with. If we can help them be successful, and this comes into the Salesforce values and around customer success, trust, innovation, sustainability, and equality. If we can help our customers be successful, then ultimately we will be successful as well. So we always look at customer first. We capture continuous feedback.
Yeah.
And actually that feedback doesn't stop, because even with now where we've launched obviously our generative AI capability in our Einstein 1 platform, within our trust layer, we can capture immediate feedback. So if we take a prompt all the way through the process, and we get the response back, which I can elaborate on a little bit more in a minute, we can get a thumbs up or a thumbs down as to whether or not that response was relevant, and that helps with the accuracy, and that helps with the training and the refinement of some of these models as well. So it's really, really key.
So how does Data Cloud enhance not just AI but overall business intelligence and decision making processes?
And it's interesting that you asked that question, because I think, going back to the earlier point around bringing all the data together, lots of organizations have been on a journey of orchestrating and bringing their data together. That's a challenge, but not an insurmountable one. Lots of companies have overcome that. When you then layer on top some level of intelligence to ask a question of your data, to be able to then understand and get that insight that could inform a business decision, that's really crucial. But it is then about how do you activate it. And if we take the example of using AI in the flow of work, because we believe that AI is going to increase productivity, efficiency, and things like that for organizations, we have to have a mechanism which is RAG, for retrieval augmentation grounding. So effectively what we're able to do is we're able to connect into that data, so we can put objects into the prompt that gets created. So a prompt is like when we chat to ChatGPT and we say, please give me a summary of, the top 5 places to visit on holiday. That's quite generic, and again, based on public data. What we're doing in our platform is we're actually connecting to the data within the enterprise. We're using retrieval mechanisms to augment and then ground the data. So in the prompt that's been shaped, we're putting in the data objects that are relevant. And then we take it through the process of removing all the personalised identifiable information, because whichever model we use, we don't want the model to store that information, because it's PII data, which you've got to be really, really careful about. And then what we would do is we only work with language models that offer zero retention. So they're not storing the customer data, they're not storing the prompt that went into it or anything. And as the response comes back through, we then take it through a series of checks, such as whether or not there's any hallucinations, toxicity, potential bias. And again, we layer on, with machine learning, we layer on an accuracy level and we give it a score in the response. And then we put back in all of the personalized identifiable information. So it's really secure, we're keeping the data separate. And then the generated response can then be used within the CRM for, let's say, a customer service agent to then provide a response to a customer.
And people that I know that have used ChatGPT, even just for personal use, they're like, oh, it's rubbish, the responses are rubbish. I'm like, your prompt was probably rubbish. People put, like you said, generic is the word, very simple things in, and expect the machine to know exactly what they mean, but it's only as good as a prompt. And within that cycle, is there a human element to it at Salesforce?
So the prompts still need engineers to shape the prompts. But this is really interesting, because I had probably about 70 customers in our tower on the Ohana floor, and I kind of did a quick kind of poll survey with them to say, on average, how many times when you use a publicly available language model like ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that, how many attempts does it take before you get the answer that you think is the right answer, or something that will help you? And it's interesting, because the response was between 4 and 5 attempts. And again, that's because you go back to shaping the prompt. Now, if you took that from a consumer space into the enterprise, that could be 4 or 5 times your cost. Because there's still a cost associated with generating these the prompt and then the responses. So there is a processing cost, etc. So this is really interesting. So what we've built on top of within our Einstein 1 platform, and on top of kind of our trust layer, we've built a studio, kind of an Einstein studio, which has a set of products that will help engineers build the prompts, ground it in the data objects, and then test them. And then if they start to refine the prompt to get to a level of success that they think, okay, this is now giving me a response that's accurate and will really help my business, we can move that into a template that can then be deployed across an entire workforce.
Right.
So if you think about that then on a scale of, let's say I'm an organization with 50,000 workers, and I've taken 4 or 5 attempts to get it right, but only for one person, and then I have a template that's deployed, I could be saving myself a fortune.
Yeah.
And I'm minimizing my security risk of one of my employees just putting something into ChatGPT that could, in theory, be a data breach or a data leak.
Yeah.
So it's really, really crucial that we also build the tools that can embed trusted AI.
Yeah, it is. And thinking about the future then, what future enhancements or new features can users expect in Data Cloud to further aid data utilisation for AI and business analytics?
Yeah, so there's lots. We will continue to build out more and more connectors, so that we can seamlessly try and integrate in with the multiple systems that our customers want and need to connect to. We will continue to build out kind of our developer and builder tools, so that our customers can start to unleash even more opportunity to create different things. And obviously you can bring your own model. Our Einstein 1 platform already today is open by design. Now we've got partnerships with OpenAI,
Right, okay.
but we know that some of the advancements in these language models over the next, I was previously saying over the next 5 years. I think that 5 year could be over the next 2 years or in the next 12 months. We're going to see more and more advancements. These language models now, there are very large language models. There are more targeted, smaller models that are more sustainable and more effective. So we need to create the opportunity for our customers to be able to swap in and out some of these models seamlessly, so it doesn't interrupt with their workflow. But as things advance and also costs come down, we want to be able to offer our customers the opportunity to just quickly swap one out, put another one in, off we go. So flexibility by design is going to be key as we progress. But the key thing that we are heavily looking at, and we continue to kind of be on the forefront of, is AI for the sake of AI is no good. We got to bring AI really closely to the workflow within the business. So we know that businesses have their processes within their organizations. So we are working with our customers, to bring AI and flow together, so that actually what they can do is they can then, continue to incrementally unlock more and more value from AI and become more and more productive, efficient, reduce their cost to serve, etc.
Are you educating customers on what's possible with AI, or do they have some quite out there expectations of what is possible? Is it a balancing act with that?
Yeah, it's. I think everybody is in different places in their journey.
Yeah.
The pace of change has been quite phenomenal. So it is hard work to keep on top of everything that's happening across the world of data and AI at the moment.
Yeah.
I see some customers who are extremely mature in their thinking, and have already kind of got clear strategy, clear vision. I see some customers who are still in that learn and development mode, and we help and work with customers of all, depending on where they are. We want to meet the customer where they are to really kind of help them unlock the value. So some we will get in a room and do a AI 101 and just get everybody up to speed on it. And that's, again, coming back to the AI Centre, that's a huge opportunity, because we want to foster learning and development and collaboration. But then we will also go very, very deep if the customer is more mature in that space and wants to learn a lot more and go deeper on some things. Yeah.
Before you mentioned trusting the data and the importance of that, how much do you think if an organisation doesn't trust its data, it can hinder development?
Massively.
Yeah.
So I think it was about 54% of the public that we kind of surveyed said that if a customer, it misinforms me or doesn't provide me with the relevant information, or takes me down the wrong path or brings friction into the process, they would remove themselves from that brand, or they would kind of move away. And this is where it's really, really crucial that we make sure that AI is relevant, it's meaningful, it's in the moment, and it's really, really kind of adds to the experience. So AI might be, from a consumer side, kind of direct engagement with AI, but it also might be from an employee perspective within the organization.
Yeah.
And we think there is a value of augmenting employees with AI to help them serve their customers at pace, right? And really increase that kind of time to value. Another great customer example of this is a phenomenal brand,
Yes.
luxury fashion. They offer a concierge-like service in stores,
Yes.
which is great. And when they tried to kind of expand that into digital channels like chat, email, web, etc., they didn't want to compromise the quality for quantity. So what we did, we worked in partnership with them, and we helped to refine a model. And then what we did was we augmented that Einstein Copilot along with their customer service agents.
Right.
So they could still offer a concierge service, but through a different channel, a digital channel of engagement. And it was amazing what they saw, because they said when they first tried to scale this, they saw lots of the contact or the customer service agents kind of having to go back to people in store and create internal queries and cases. Well, they actually saw those internal cases reduced by 60%.
Wow.
And furthermore, they also saw the growth opportunity, because they were still able to offer a concierge service, but through digital channels. They saw their sales go up by 16% through the service channel.
That is amazing.
So really, really phenomenal experience when we get it right, and we bring AI to augment the employee to help assist them offer something that's really, really unique to their customers.
Were they hesitant at first?
I don't think they were. I think there was a realization that, consumers expect a digital channel.
Yeah.
And this was about being a progressive organization that really wanted to push forward and create a digital channel for their customers.
Yeah. So did you have an example? Had you done that before?
There are many different customer examples. Heathrow's another one.
Yeah.
They want to create personalised experiences for people that come into the airport, and they take huge volumes of people into the airport. So again, another phenomenal example of a trailblazer who's trying to apply AI to create meaningful experiences for their customers.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you have any examples of where there was a lack of trust within an organisation, and through utilising the product, they've changed their view on it?
I think it's interesting, because I think we're all a little bit cautious at the moment, right? We're cautious in the sense of, how much investment do I need to make in this space?
Yeah.
What's going to be the return? And I don't think it's. I think there's a realization of going, actually, it still has to come back to one or two use cases. And I think this is really, really important for some of our customers, which is AI has been through this huge hype cycle.
Yeah.
And we see amazing stuff with consumer AI. But the challenge now is about, actually, whatever we implement has to lead to some sort of incremental value or gain for the organization.
Yeah.
And ultimately the end customer. So I've seen some customers who have been very excited about the potential and done a tremendous amount across a number of different parts of their business, but then lack that kind of value realization. So what we're now kind of doing is we're saying, actually, you've got to be a bit more focused on, let's just take one or two use cases, and let's measure the impact that will have based on your investment in AI and this new technology. So I think it's a process in which we need to go through together, all of us.
Yeah, sure. What do you think the implications are of enterprises not utilising AI?
I think this is that's a great question, because if I think back when we've gone through multiple technological advancements, everything from the internet, mobile, social, we've gone through all of these significant changes. And when I think about the digital kind of transformation, or the digital era, should I say, which was probably between 10 and 5 years ago when we all kind of shifted, I think Harvard Business Review did some research, and they said 60%, or I think it was between 50 and 60% of organizations, if they do not transform to be a digital first organization, they won't exist by 2030.
Really? Wow.
Now, when I think about the AI revolution that we're in right now, I think this is only going to accelerate that prediction and analysis.
Yeah.
So you can probably say that if a company doesn't do something with AI now, or start to think about what they're going to be doing, and there's a lot of work to be done. They've got to get their strategy, they've got to align with their data strategy, we've got to look at the regulated environments, etc. So there is a lot to be considered. We've got to think about the ethical guardrails, etc. But if you don't do something, or you don't have a plan today to do something with AI, there is a huge risk that you might not exist in the future.
Yeah.
Now, that might not always be the case, but we're going to see some big winners, and we're probably going to see some big losers, I would imagine.
Like the Blockbuster fail, because they said subscription wasn't a thing, and look at us now, we subscribe to everything, don't we? But it is that foresight, isn't it?
It is.
Which of course Netflix had. But so do you think we will lose some big players then from the industry?
I think if they ignore the AI revolution that we're going through at the moment, I think there is a chance that we'll see some significant disruption. And also the other thing that I've probably been saying this for a very long time, but I do think this is going to be a point of acceleration, which is, I think some of the traditional industries will converge or overlap. And what do I mean about that? Well, if we think about self-driving cars, or the automotive industry, not even the fact that they're self-driving, but now the level of data that we get off the vehicles is significant. But if you think about self-driving cars, in a world where they are self-driving, what does the insurance company do in the future? Do they insure the driver? Do they insure the manufacturer? Or the engineer that wrote the algorithm?
That's so interesting.
So there'll be some blurring of lines, I think, between industries, and hopefully, it being optimistic, there'll be some potential to create completely new business models that we haven't seen, like the subscription models that we've seen emerge. There could be completely new business models out there in the future. Yeah,
with that though, like you said, there's legal implications, aren't there? And law has to catch up, and insurance has to catch up as well. So do you think, so that's obviously quite an interesting side note to it, but do you think that is a hesitancy because people are worried about the ethics, say, of it all?
I think customers have to consider the ethics element as a primary consideration. I think then the regulatory aspect has to be a consideration as well. Quite clearly, we've seen from the Artificial Intelligence Act from Europe, we know that some of the controls and conditions within that are very similar to things like GDPR. So the consequences of doing it wrong is quite substantial. I think this is where you've got to partner with the right organizations to help you navigate some of those challenges. And also, whatever your design decisions, make sure that you're taking a very flexible, open approach that can allow you to change as things change from a compliance and regulatory perspective. And only then will we stay on top of it, because this is what we do from a platform perspective. We are constantly looking at all of the compliance and regulatory changes on a global level, and it might be things like KYC within financial services, or consumer duty, etc. And what we're doing is we're making sure that those are considered and changed within our product, so we can help our customers And a great example of this is within our Einstein trust layer, we have an audit capability.
Right.
So the audit capability will capture the prompt, what data went into the prompt, what was masked, what wasn't. It will capture which LLM we used. It will capture the scores on the hallucinations and toxicity to make sure that we keep the accuracy. All of that will be audited, so that if you have to reference it in the future, we can go back and reference it.
Yeah.
We can see and we can learn then from those data points.
Yeah.
So it's really, really key.
Are there any particular industries that have got more of an appetite for AI, would you say? Or is it across industry?
I think it's across industry. I'm seeing use cases in, financial services have been doing AI for quite a while with predictive AI and machine learning. Then there's now opportunity for generative AI for, customer service complaints, things like that, to offer better quality of service. The automotive space is quite clearly, we talked about that. I think logistics, transportation, route optimization. I think, retail, consumer goods, to be able to, offer product recommendations, help with things like returns, making sure that we're doing all of the right nudging in the right areas, etc. So I think we're seeing things and use cases across a multitude of industries.
Yeah, we are.
So I don't think it's any one. I think there are different appetites in different industries to be more progressive and bold and more ambitious. But again, this is a balancing act that we're going through.
Yeah. And what about AI taking jobs? Because there's a lot of talk on that and a lot of concern. How would you answer that? I think we've gone through, everybody's gone through that emotional cycle. I've gone through it myself, and I've gone, wow, this is blowing my mind. And it's interesting as well. I've got two boys, one's 5, one's 12, and you kind of always think what they're going to do in the future. And I've always, I've come from an engineering background. I've always thought, right, there'll be engineers and software developers in the future. It's going to be interesting because I don't think AI. This is a personal opinion. I don't think AI will take everybody's jobs. I think it will be augmented with jobs to take care of mundane tasks that will enable people to do more meaningful things, like build better connections with people, strengthen relationships, be more emotionally attached, because I think we've lost that through some of the digital channels that we can engage with. It's become very transactional. I need this, can you do that? Yes, where I think this will allow people to build stronger relationships over time. If we look at the Industrial Revolution, when farmers and machines, when machines became available for farmers, that didn't kill off the industry and the need for a farmer. What it did was it increased productivity and efficiency, enabled them to produce more output. And I think we're going to see the same with the AI revolution. And it's still, in particular jobs and job sectors, it's still it's still maturing on that kind of how do we partner together to be successful. But I don't think it will completely eradicate jobs. I think there'll be components. We'll also see new jobs open up. Yeah, of course. We talked about the prompt builder or prompt engineer of the future. I think that's interesting because we saw lots of script writers go on strike when generative AI kind of came on the scene first, thinking there was a risk to their job. However, some of those script writers, because of their skill to be very descriptive in what they're trying to paint the picture of, they could be amazing prompt engineers of the future. So I think we're going to see some new jobs. We're going to see some of the mundane tasks being reduced or eradicated
and used by AI. And we're going to see probably, hopefully, more people build stronger relationships because they can connect more.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think you're right. In this digital era, interactions have become quite transactional. You know, if we can eradicate that and make the more human element come back into it. And I think it was Bill Gates that said, get us closer to the 3 or 4 day working week. And who would say no to that?
Wow, living the dream.
Right, so we're going to move on to the quick fire data lightning round.
Right.
What is one common misconception about data that you'd like to debunk?
Wow, this quick fire and I've stalled already.
Don't worry.
The one misconception about data that I would like to debunk is data is the answer to everything.
Yeah.
Is something that it's not more data, it's the right data.
Yes.
That's I think is the one I'd like to debunk. Everybody is tracking data at everything.
Yeah.
It's not loads of data, it's the right data for the job.
Yeah, amazing. Name a book, podcast or event that every data enthusiast should explore.
Wow. The history of artificial intelligence.
Right.
I'll have to get you the author separately because it's out of my mind right now. And the reason I say explore it is because we have to look back from where we've come from to inform our future.
Yeah, great answer. Finish this sentence. Data is the key to.
Unlocking customer relationships.
Love it. What is one piece of advice that you'd give to someone just starting a career in data?
Don't be overwhelmed by the amount of technology and the advancements we've got. Focus on business use cases and link the data that's going to fuel the use case to really drive progress.
Yeah, that's an important one. Looking to the future, what do you think would be the greatest development in data in the next 5 or 3 years?
Synthetic data is going to be interesting from a training for models in the future. The data that is being generated by these language models, making sure that data doesn't, or how that data trains future machine learning and AI has to be carefully analysed, because we just don't know if that is going to exponentially create hallucinations in future.
So it perpetuates the,
potentially. That, like, it's something that I think we need to look at.
Yeah.
I don't think we fully grasp what will happen in that space yet.
Yeah, absolutely not. Well, thank you. You're great.